David Mellor. This is your Life and Times Conservative...
In 9 minutes.
We can get through a lot. You were a Conservative Cabinet Minister. You were a Conservative MP from 1979 to 1997. During that long tenure, you must have witnessed some big changes in politics. What struck you? What strikes you looking back?
Well, I think that this was a period which was very much Mrs. Thatcher's period. I, by the way, was her youngest minister for 4 years, and I was in her government for 9 years, but I didn't worship Margaret Thatcher. She treated me with the same contempt that my mother always did. And, and I loved my mother, and I sort of half loved Margaret Thatcher, but she wasn't an easy person to work with or work for. And on occasions would quite lose it. I remember one time at a cocktail party, she literally pinned me up against a wall and told me I was in the room and told me I was letting her down on certain things. It never bothered her that she was letting a lot of us down by being extremely disloyal, that to ministers, by telling people like Mary Whitehouse that she didn't agree with the policy I was espousing, which was the policy of the government. So, she was naughty. It was a Dick Emerson said, naughty but nice. She wasn't actually nice, but what she was naughty because she expected higher standards of others than she ever devoted herself. But she believed in something with a passion and she worked it. And when I look at some of these insipid, let's look for a parliamentary word, these insipid creatures that have replaced her. Look, Rishi Sunak's, I'm sure, a very clever guy and all the rest of it. But where's the Margaret Thatcher in Rishi Sunak? Maybe Mrs. Sunak knows, but I certainly don't.
Wow. So you think the quality of our politicians, we don't get those big towering figures anymore?
No, it's not even just a question of big towering figures. It's a question of people who are only good at what they're doing and have real gifts. And I think that I had an interesting conversation actually years ago with Dennis Healey when I was speaking at a big dinner in Leeds in honour of Dennis Healey. And I always got on well with Dennis, although we would always sort of mess about. And I made the point that when Dennis Healey was at Oxford, Balliol in the 1930s, there were 3 outstanding undergraduates there, Roy Jenkins, Ted Heath and him. And I said every one of them went on to a major career in politics. And my question, I said to this dinner, is, today, if there were 3 similarly gifted people at Oxford University or wherever, would they all go into politics? My view is that none of them would. And it's quite interesting. Afterwards, he came up and he said, I hate to agree with you about anything. And you're not the kind of person I want people to think I agree with. He said, but you were right. I don't believe that either.
Now, some people, it's not an argument I subscribe to, but you may have a different view. Some people say politicians are not paid enough.
No,
is that nonsense?
Oh, tosh! Don't even bother to give me the rest. A lot of people have been asking me that. Look, when I was elected to Parliament in 1979, it was £1,750 a year and a limited expense account to pay for a secretary, but otherwise nothing. Since when? What are they on now? 80 odd?
80 odd, yeah.
But it's also the way that they're invited to take the dosh through bogus expenses claims, where, you can put the wife on or the son or whatever on the payroll.
Not anymore.
Well, we'll see about that. But I can tell you that the idea, look, this hits so many bad spots with me. First of all, why is politics a full-time job? Why is it a profession? The profession of politics, where, you go to university, stumble out and become a research assistant, some leading figure in your party, and then you get into Parliament. What use are people like that, actually, in truth? They've had no experience of anything. But more fundamentally, what they don't know is what they're not prepared to do is to take risks, because this is their job. And if they lose their job, where are they?
Good point. What surprised me when I was reading about your political journey, because obviously you were a big figure in the Conservative Party for a long time, but you left the Conservative Party in 2003.
I did.
You're not back?
No, I wouldn't rejoin the Conservative Party. I left when Ian Duncan Smith became leader, because Ian Duncan Smith, when he was in his original form, he was very right-wing and actually very difficult with John Major and so on. And suddenly he sort of decides, sniffs the air, feels where the wind is blowing, and suddenly becomes some sort of liberal sort of, charmer. And I can't bear people like that. And also, it's a terrible thing, cut my tongue out. He's not very bright, is he? Gosh. I mean, when he was doing the pensions job, I don't think he understood it. And I, by the way, don't claim to be brilliantly bright, but I was bright enough, for instance, I don't know, to take things like the Police and Criminal Evidence Act, a major reform of criminal procedure through Parliament, every clause of it debated fully. And, I understood it. I don't think he understood a lot of what he was trying to do.
Let's inject some light, because Spitting Image, which if you are of our age, it was essential viewing. Like millions and millions of people watched it every Sunday night. It's on at the theatre now in London.
Remind me which one. I shan't go. I just avoid that theatre.
It's good. I've been to see it, although, my goodness, I was thinking, is this a bit too much about certain characters? You were in Spitting Image. Is it a badge of honour when you make it as a politician?
No, it's just silly. But I tell you, my wife said to me, one of your puppets is coming up for auction. We have to buy it because we can't let anyone else have it. We bought it and the bloody thing fell to pieces within a week. It was so tattily made. And also, they had to give somebody a bit of colour, So, one of the things I don't have, and I'll happily breathe all over you to prove it, I don't have bad breath, you see.
I confirm.
They always had me as bad, because they obviously wanted to do something awful. And I thought, what is this? Is this wit, humour? I'd rather listen to Tony Hancock,
Did it hurt? Because, these horrible fumes were coming out of your Spitting Image character.
Because, would that sort of thing hurt me? No, of course not. But it was just a waste of time. And so much of it was contrived and pretty third-form stuff, I thought.
And what's happened to that broken Spitting Image puppet
It
now?
went into a dustbin. And I cannot disclose which dustbin, but it went into a dustbin.
Oh, not even a little moment of reflection?
No, I can't even think where it went. It was slung out. Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Despised. It was rejected and thrown out.
You brought some wit, some sharp tongues as far as Ian Duncan Smith and Margaret Thatcher is concerned, but loved it. Thank you, David Mellor.